So while I'm drawing this out, you could be drawing a circle in your copybook. So it's the mode of transport is bus was 20, car was 15, train was 12, to walk was 8, and bicycle was 5. Okay, so this is the type of transport. So that, don't forget, that's categorical nominal. Okay, categorical nominal data, because it's a word for an answer and they can't be ranked. Okay, categorical nominal. And here's our number of people. Okay, now so let's see what we get. We're going to draw our circle. Draw as big a circle really as you can afford in your book, just because obviously it's easier to interpret if it's relatively big. Okay, so use a compass, don't use a coin or anything like that because it's just too small. So let's try and do that again, so it's a nice big. Make sure your compass, when you come to any exam or any test or anything, make sure you've checked your compass to see that it holds in place, because nothing worse when drawing a pie chart, having a dodgy compass that doesn't hold itself in place. Okay, so we draw our circle, and what I would do, having drawn my circle, is I would just draw my first line. I tend to draw my first line from 12 o'clock down to the center, and that's where I'm going to start to measure my angles from. So I now have to work out how many degrees each of these things is going to be represented by. So remember, we had a total of 60 people. A total of 60 people. And remember, we have a total of 360 degrees. So I'm just going to do a rough check in my head. 360 degrees shared between 60 people is going to be 6 degrees per person. And the reason I'm going to do that is because sometimes it's easier just to use that information to get my degrees. So for instance, I'm going to put another row here of degrees. So I could say straight away that for the bus, there's 20 people and there's 6 degrees per person. So that's going to be 20 times 6, which is 120 degrees. Okay, for car, it would be 15 times 6, which would be 90 degrees. Now, it doesn't always work out as nice as that. So I'm going to show you the other method that we would use as well for finding the angle. And that's the method we just saw in the textbook. Okay, so I'm going to work that over here. So don't forget the size of the angle, okay, is going to be the frequency for that particular thing. So the frequency for the bus, or the frequency for the car, the frequency for the train, or whatever, over the total times 360 degrees. So the number of people there, that's what I mean by the frequency. So it's going to be the frequency over the total number of people times 360 degrees. So for the bus, if I was to do it this way, the bus would be 20 over 60 times 360, which would work out to be 120 degrees. And you can do that on your calculator even. Okay, for the car, it would be 15 out of 60 times 360, which would be 90 degrees. For the train, it would be 12 out of 60 times 360, which would be 1/5 of 360, which would be 72 degrees. For walking, it would be 8 out of 60 times 360, which would be 48 degrees. And finally, for the bicycle, we would have 5 out of 60 times 360, which would be 30 degrees. Okay, so it's always the frequency over the total times 360. So basically what we're doing is we're finding out what fraction of the total is taken up with the bus. And then we're finding the same fraction of 360 degrees. That's basically what that calculation is doing. So for instance, for walking, we found out what fraction is 8 of 60. Okay, and that works out to be 2/15. And 2/15 of 360 is 48 degrees. So that's how that's working. Any questions on that bit? Now this is the bit that often causes trouble then. So I'm noticing my pie chart, my protractor is fairly dirty. Let me see if I can polish it up quickly. It's been sitting in pencil cases too long, I think. Hopefully it'll still be clear enough. It's not really cleaning. Hopefully it'll still be clear enough to see. So my first angle I'm going to do is my bus, which is 120 degrees. So bus was 120, car was 90 degrees, train was 72 degrees, walk was 48 degrees, and bicycle is 30 degrees. Okay, so I get my protractor and I line it up. I'm going to work clockwise around my pie chart. So I line up my pie chart with the center of the pie chart with my the little cross there, kind of the sight, like as if it's a gun, the sight of the protractor. It's a filthy protractor, isn't it? But anyway, I want 120 degrees. If you notice the 0 degrees, if you remember about measuring angles, the 0 degrees is on the line, almost like the starting line or the baseline. So I'm going to use, that 0 is there. I'm going to use that scale then, the outer scale, because that's where the 0 is starting. I'm not going to use the inner scale because it's starting at 180. So I'm going to use the outer scale, and I've got to go around to 120. So I'm going to go around here until I get to 120 degrees, and I'm going to make a mark. There's 120. I'm going to join those two together. Okay, so there I've joined my center to my edge, and that is 120 degrees. And straight away I'm going to label that bus. Okay, car is 15 and it's 90 degrees, so I'm going to line that up. Again, my center is actually here. I haven't made that very clear. So there's my center. Okay. So 90 degrees. Now remember, you've got to line up your protractor with this new line that I've just drawn, because that's where our next angle is going to start from. So my 0 is lined up with that line. My center is lined up with the center. I've got 90 degrees, which is going to go around to here, isn't it? So there's 90 degrees, and I join those up. Okay. All my pencils are conspiring here against me. Okay, 90 degrees. So this is 90 degrees, and that is car. The next one is 72 degrees. So again, I line up my center with my center, and I make sure my 0 is lined up over here, and it's 72 degrees. So I go around here to 72. Now it's a bit hard to pick out, so I'm going to do my best. There's 70 degrees. 72 degrees is 2 notches on from there, so there is 72 degrees to there, 72 degrees, and that was train. 8 is 48 degrees. So again, I'm going to line this up. Now, probably what I should have done at the start before I did anything else was to add up all my degrees and make sure they added to 360. But I'm confident that they did, so hopefully we're all right. 8 is 48 degrees, so again, I'm lining up my line. I've centered it. I'm starting at the 0, which is on the outside scale, and I'm going to 48 degrees, which is just here. And I'm joining that up. And if I'm good, which I hope I am, or I'm in trouble because it's my job. If I'm good, that should be 30 degrees. We'll check now. So walk is 48 degrees. This should be 30. Which without any fudging. I'm quite impressed there. It is 30 degrees. So walk and bicycle was 30 degrees. Okay, so the different steps there were I wrote down my data. I worked out how many people I was dealing with, which was 60. And then I took the proportion of 60 that each of these frequencies is, the fraction of 60 that it is, and I multiplied it by 360. I got all my degrees. And then I started off with one line at the top, drawn down to the center. And from there, I worked around gradually, each one in turn, moving my protractor to start from the new line each time.